with your Instagram and how you navigate your content, do you post at certain times? Do you kind of have four or five pictures that you want to select the best one? Or are you more focused on putting up what you like and hoping that your fan base reacts to it, regardless of if it's the sort of reception you were getting constantly or not?
I know as the pandemic was starting, I definitely found myself going in, kind of falling into the pattern of I'm running out of things to post. Even though I was still kind of posting around the same times, there are guides online of like optimal times to post on social media, not just for Instagram, but for everything, basically. I was following those, but still felt like, oh, maybe when I'm posting what I want, it's not good enough. I found myself getting into the pattern of just posting things that, like, oh, this is a conventionally attractive photo. This will get attention that way, and posting those sorts of photos for a time. But it just didn't feel fulfilling to me. And almost at a certain point, I was so worried, oh, does the algorithm only think that my posts are worth sharing around if I'm in idol cosplay, which is one type of cosplay that I like to wear a lot, but it's not the only type of cosplay I enjoy wearing. In some ways, that's why Instagram felt limiting, because I felt like I had to post a certain way in order to feel successful. But nowadays, because I guess I'm posting elsewhere, like on Twitter and on TikTok, in the end, I realized it's just one form of social media. It's one form of me expressing myself, my costumes, my craft, etc. And so nowadays, I feel more fulfilled just kind of doing what I want. And if that means posting an idol costume, if I feel like that, I'll go do that. If not, if I want to go crazy and be Mahito from Jujutsu Kaisen, I'll be Mahito from Jujutsu Kaisen. And just kind of realizing like likes are not everything. Um, just appeasing an algorithm, not real people, is not everything. And especially if I want this to be my hobby for a long time, why not do the things I love? Why not be the characters that I look up to the most and not always the most popular character from the latest anime out right now? And that's not to say that's a bad thing to relate to popular characters, but in the end, I feel better when I'm characters that I love a lot and care about a lot and relate to a lot.
That's cool. I'm happy to hear that. I've heard from other cosplayers, those who are getting back into the scene after leaving it because they see now it's five times as big as it once was, or even new cosplayers who have never done it but they're blowing up on social media platforms. They'll approach the most popular characters because they know that's what the algorithm likes. They know that's what the general mainstream fan base likes. And for me, it's like if you're just chasing what the algorithm wants, yes, it's cosplaying, and yes, I won't take that away from you, but it takes away a lot of what that craft is. It's about expression, about finding characters that you love, and it doesn't have to be the most popular character. It could be a side character from episode 19 from season 3 of Pokemon. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, just pick something that you like and cosplay it. And but like I do get where you see other cosplayers that post up Nezuko or they post up any of these popular characters, and I love these characters. Like I love Demon
Right.
Slayer, but I I cannot believe that like everyone wants to be Nezuko. I have a very hard
Mm-hmm.
time believing that every single person thinks that they need to go as 02 or Nezuko or
Right.
the Lady D from Resident Evil. All of these very popular characters and interesting characters, but it wasn't like that before because we had popular characters back in the day before cosplay got big or even as it was growing, but you wouldn't walk to a convention and see all of the Madoka characters, like every person wearing Madoka. It just
Mm-hmm.
wasn't like that. But trends have changed over time, and I'm at least happy to hear that you know how you're navigating your platforms and you know what you're putting up there is what you're comfortable with and what you want to do instead of trying to appease strangers.
Right. Because I'll go on a very short anecdote. There have been
Take your
times
time.
I've been pressured to do boudoir, pressured to only cosplay certain characters from just strangers on the internet. And at times there have been times I felt very pressured to start OnlyFans to go in that direction. But honestly, it terrified me, especially as I'm going to graduate school and just I want to have a full career, whether it be with cosplay or not. I'm not entirely sure yet for myself, but to almost have people see you as a certain character and think, oh, if you can do this character, why not do this character that's similar, and almost push creators' limits to get as much as they can out of someone that they respect, whether that, and sometimes it borderlines on like sexual harassment. That hasn't happened to me personally, but I've seen it happen to other people. And it's times like that where I really make sure to ground myself and say, I know my limits. I know what kinds of characters I like to cosplay. And this is not about other people. This is not about appeasing other people. I started this for myself and it should stay that way. Right.
Absolutely. I will disclose I have done like some help with like editing or photography. My friend is a photographer for a number of OnlyFans accounts, and he's told me himself, and like I've seen for myself, like some of these people who are into cosplay, they do get pressured, like you said, into doing OF, and all of a sudden it's like they feel trapped because they are getting this reception, they're getting this money, they're able to now make cosplay into a career, but it's not necessarily how they wanted to make it into a career. And
right.
I do tell people like I'm look, I support OnlyFans, and I think that I want to see that platform grow. I want it to also drop the stigma that it has, but I also think
I do too.
Yeah, exactly.
I do too. Yeah,
it's great, right? Like, I really do think it's great, and I think that more platforms are going to come that are going to refine that process for creatives. But I also think that you shouldn't be pressured to jump into something and jump into like the sort of content that they want just because a photographer messaged you and said, "Hey, we love your cosplay. Can you do this sort of cosplay?" And I know for a fact you're going to do well, and I'll help you. And I've seen that, and it's very convoluted, but
right. Or that, oh, I helped you get this far, so you owe me a favor because I helped you go from point A to point B. Which
that sort of manipulation is so fucking ridiculous. I hate to see it. I hate to hear it.
No, I absolutely agree with you. And honestly, the more power to the people that find like genuinely love that sort of content, love what they do in that regard, and find that path for themselves versus being coerced, kind of pressured into going that route. This got really serious.
Well, let's lighten up the mood a little bit. Ash, what are some of your favorite cosplays that you've done so far?
Ooh, here we go, because I don't know if it's what people would expect to hear from me.
Oh, I'm
some
looking
of
forward
my
to this.
Some of my favorites, I love my Persona 5 Akira cosplay to death. I wore him so much. And honestly, that Arta wig, which is the same Arta wig I've had for a long time, longer than I want to admit, is it's been worn out a lot, but I love wearing it. I feel so confident as him, especially I related to him a lot because he's a character that got put into a bad situation and felt like society was almost kind of out to get him, but he forced himself past that. And the confidence this guy exudes is just so cool. And I love cosplaying him and feeling powerful as him. And otherwise, cosplays that I really enjoy wearing. I also love wearing Dopo from Hypnosis Mike is really fun to wear. I feel like the fact that his personality can kind of go from very serious, like blank face or just very anxious face to like full blown screaming on the phone because he has so much pent up anger is like, I love the dynamic between the two sides of him. And even though I don't think I'm as loud as him when I get angry, which I'm not an angry person. I just find that the two very polar opposites very fun. And that's one cosplay. I've only worn that in quarantine. I really want to wear it out to a con at some point. In terms of other costumes I enjoyed, this one's probably more expected. I really enjoyed wearing Devil Maki from Love Live because that was kind of my first really complicated Love Live outfit. Before then, I kind of stuck to the uniforms a lot, and they're cute, but sometimes it's nice to kind of go crazy. We'll wear something super big, like obnoxious, big and floofy, which was that cosplay. Especially because it's all red. There's tons of roses, fishnets, like the whole 9 yards, and I just felt very powerful in that outfit, which is why I really enjoyed wearing it. I don't own it anymore, unfortunately, because some parts were kind of falling. I bought it secondhand; it was kind of falling apart a little bit. Um, while I owned that, I really enjoyed that cosplay. And I guess one last recent fave was Sailor Jupiter, which I've gotten into Sailor Moon very, very late, but
Wow, Sailor Jupiter is
she's
one of my
cool.
favorite characters.
She's so cool. And honestly, I'm mad at myself for not getting into Sailor Moon sooner because in my hometown there was this lady. She was like the biggest Sailor Moon fan ever. She had a full-blown Sailor Moon store. She sold old merchandise like from 90s anime, like Chobits, but she had the Sailor Moon ones. She made her own tiaras, brooches. Like, this isn't one of hers, and this is from friends, but like making things like this to attach onto Sailor Moon cosplays. And just talking to her about the series and how much she loved it like really inspired me, but I don't know why I didn't watch it. Like, she was like the biggest fan and like right, like not even like 10 minutes down the road, and yet I didn't get into the series until quarantine. But I I honestly relate to Jupiter the most. I find that she has so much energy to her, and that she cares. She's so compassionate for the people around her, and then like turns that compassion into strength. And I really respect that a lot, which is why when a friend of mine was selling their cosplay, and I'm like, oh, I absolutely need to. If I don't take this opportunity now, oh my gosh, when will I? Right. And I want to touch up parts of the wig a little bit more, but I love cosplaying her a lot.
Yeah, I really love Sailor Moon, and I'm surprised to hear that you got into it late too. I know some people, they know of it and they just never wanted to watch it, but it's a great series, a lot of great characters. The costumes are great, and it lends itself very well to cosplay, group cosplay. It's very bright and vibrant, and like even like what you're saying, like some of your favorite cosplays, like these are characters that aren't necessarily like what everyone wants to do and what you'll find on the explore page on IG, but you really do have your personality shine through all of these cosplays, and it's really cool to hear that too. With the cosplay that you're doing and the way you embrace older characters, it's definitely something that like I could tell you really enjoy doing. And there are other cosplayers like you, even though there aren't as many as those cosplayers that want to do what's super trendy. How
Mm.
do you think cosplay and even anime in general, how do you think these things will grow throughout the 20s? We've already seen how popular they were at the end of the last decade, but I feel that what you've seen online and what you're seeing in mainstream media is a reflection of that everyone loves anime. How much bigger can it
I
possibly get?
feel like the sky's the limit at this point, especially like I was so surprised going around, and like even I can say this personally, I went to a TJ Maxx the other day and being able to walk in and find Naruto shirts, like I genuinely surprised me, because I swear like not even like 2 3 years ago that could even happen. And honestly, I feel like because there's so many more people watching and like interacting with the media, I feel like it's not seen as like a weird thing anymore to be like, oh, is it Comic Con weekend? Like, why are you all dressed up and all this stuff? I feel like it's almost in some ways healthier ways to kind of deal with like the struggles we all have in our lives. And so, honestly, the more people that are getting into cosplay, like, I don't see that as a bad thing. I don't mind if the communities grow like super duper huge. Honestly, it just means like people are finding more joy in these mediums, and that honestly we can connect over similar topics, be able to like geek out and feel like we can be ourselves and just ramble for hours on our favorite series. And honestly, I don't really see the trend stopping anytime soon.
I hope so too, because you love to see it. And it doesn't matter how mainstream something gets, the OG fans will always be able to benefit and enjoy it as well. So it's something I look forward to as well.
And even I'll say this too, that there was a TikTok trend going around of, I think, people talking about like like their favorite characters that you think other people wouldn't know about. And I remember listing series I loved as a kid, and even why I didn't watch Sailor Moon was because I watched Cardcaptor Sakura instead, Shugo Chara. Um, Other series that aren't Magical Girl, I watched Katekyo Hitman Reborn, which I'm still like, I need to cosplay that so bad.
Yeah, please
Um,
do, because people have forgotten that great series. It was so good.
Actually, on my phone right here, I still have Fran and Belphegor,
You're so
and I have them
cool.
on all the time. I care about them a lot.
Nice.
But on that TikTok, so many people were like screaming, "Oh my God, if you're gonna cosplay Reborn, I'm gonna scream!" Or like, "Oh, you're gonna cosplay Persona 2, that's gonna be so cool." And I need to get to them, and I'm like mentally reminding myself now. But I feel like because there's so many more fans of cosplay stuff now, like that just means even for like obscure series that I thought, oh, I must be the only person that remembers like the Kagura project from Vocaloid, or is like still a big fan of that. But then there's so many more people that are willing to go back and watch older series and like scream about them with people that are also into it, that I feel less alone in that way. And I feel like it's really cool. And it definitely made me feel less weird. I'm like, okay, I'm not the only one that cares a lot about Fran and Belphegor in the year 2021.
Yeah, man. Yo, stay on that wave, bro. There's no problem with that. I know some people may look at you side-eyed, like, I've never heard of this series before. But no, feel your series. Really get into it. I feel that with cosplayers especially, like, the entire point of cosplay is to really be into a show and maybe even get into other shows as well, right? Like, you want to expose yourself to a character that maybe someone had seen in passing, but they never invested in that series. And yeah, I think it's very rewarding when you have someone come up to you and say, yo, I cannot believe you're into Reborn. I'm into Reborn. I'm into Beelzebub. I'm into like Zetman or all of these old
Yeah,
series.
yes.
I cosplayed as Zetman once, and like no one knew who I was, and this was before the anime came out, and it was like, oh, okay, well, I at least enjoyed doing it. Now, if I did it, I don't think I'd get that much bigger of a reception, but I definitely feel, like you said, I would have people come up to me and say, holy shit, I love what you're wearing. I love Zetman. And like to me, that's a part of cosplay that I would love to see more of, and I think every cosplayer should also experience as well. It makes it more worth it when you're putting in all those hours and you're not quite sure something's going to hit. You can always pull back to that time when it did hit, and even if it wasn't 100 people, those 15 people who appreciated what you did, they really, really appreciated it.